You will remember from the previous section on A Midsummer Night's Dream that Prasanna introduced you to some common aspects of comedy that Emma Smith proposes in her book, The Cambridge Introduction to Shakespeare. Tragedy is often considered to be the opposite of comedy, and while this isn't actually entirely correct, it can be a useful starting point. So here is what Emma Smith proposes as common aspects of tragedy, which I'm going to tell you about by comparing these with the common aspects of comedy that you have already learned about in Section 2. The first aspect is the play's title. The titles of comedy, remember, often refer to a time, like A Midsummer Night's Dream, or something playful, such as Much Ado About Nothing. The titles of Shakespeare's tragedies, on the other hand, tend to focus on the name of the main character, as in Othello and Hamlet, or two characters, as in Romeo and Juliet and Antony and Cleopatra. The second aspect is the movement of the play's plot. The plot of comedy moves towards marriage and social harmony. The plot of tragedy moves towards the isolation of the play's main character and the breakdown of social bonds. The third aspect is the ending of the plays. Shakespeare's comedies either end in marriage or anticipate a marriage to come. Shakespeare's tragedies end in death. Our fourth aspect concerns the future beyond the play. Shakespeare's comedies suggest a future beyond the end of the play in which social bonds are renewed. In tragedy, however, there is not much sense of a future beyond the actual end of the play. The fifth aspect involves the ways the characters speak and interact. In comedies, there is a good deal of dialogue between characters, some of it very funny. In tragedy, we see more soliloquies as the main characters reveal themselves and their motives to the audience. The sixth aspect is whether female or male characters dominate the action. In comedy, female characters are very active and often the centre of the play's attention. In tragedies, the male characters tend to be more active. The seventh aspect is about where the play is located and what happens when the characters move from one location to another. In comedy, movement to a different location, for example from Athens to the woods in A Midsummer Night's Dream, brings with it the potential for positive change. In tragedy, movement from one location to another, such as from Venice to Cyprus in Othello, makes the existing problems even worse. The eighth aspect involves Shakespeare's plays on words, his puns. In his comedies, wordplay is generally about fertility and there is a good deal of sexual innuendo. In his tragedies, puns tend to express the meaningless of life and often demonstrate the impossibility of communication. Finally, there is the matter of choice. In Shakespeare's comedies, choices made as the play progresses are maintained at the end, and events seem less predestined. But in his tragedies, there is a brooding sense of inevitability. We are never confident that characters can escape from the sequence of events.